I gotta make Andy, once she gets on here, a co-host because she's gonna share a diagram. You know me and diagrams. Hey Jen, how are ya? Good to see you. Okay. Here's Andy. There she is. Okay, Andy, I'm making you a co-host here. Yes. Okay. All right, guys. I'm excited for this. I love keeping the channel open. This was today's class is a download that I got on the airplane as I was doing my 7 minutes in heaven. You know, we were going through some horrific storms in KC where it was like 80 miles an hour winds. And I know for some of you guys that are like, that's nothing, but that's like rare for us. And so they canceled a bunch of flights and let me put my phone in airplane mode here. We don't want any distractions. And anyways, it wasn't even that turbulent, but I was just like, you know what? I'm going to breathe for all of these people in here because why not? So I just included every single person into my breath work. And then I got this download for this visual. So the first thing I want to do though is I want to take you guys through a process that is a self-hypnosis process that is something that you can add to your mana breath or you can add to your prosperity breath. But it is really about one of the things that you came here for at this time is to be a glitch in the matrix. Okay, that is one of your purposes, is to actually stop the movie, stop the program, stop the repeating cycles. So if you can manually stop yourself throughout the day, well, you are the collective. So what you want to also do is I recommend that anybody that needs a pause from their movie be included in this self-hypnosis. Okay. So, and again, it's not that much different, but not so 5% of your thinking and feeling is happening in your brain. 95% of it is happening in your body, which is why quantum fitness is like embodying joy. It's like how to embody return to joy. You're going to have to do it through the body. Okay. This is not a mental game. It was until we left our minds unattended and it downloaded into the body. Because once the cellular memory, once the muscle memory, once these loops and these programs are in your bone marrow, it takes a minute because it's in that sediment rock where you can pour water into that glass all day and it's so dried out and rocky that it isn't even permeating. So the only way that you're going to be able to really change some of these deep rooted generational patterns is to manually override your own system and get your ass in the driver's seat. And I highly recommend that if you're still not in power over what you're eating and you're not in power over your reactions at this point, you want to set an alarm for every hour while you're awake. Because if you cannot tell your body no for food and you cannot tell your body, no, we're not reacting right now, that will tell you with absolutely no judgment who's in charge. The toddler, the feral child is in charge. And that's okay. But it's time for our higher self to reparent the child back to joy. Okay? Because a feral child is still trying to create joy through hurting itself. It's still, that food, that sugar is still a form of getting joy. That reaction, yelling at someone, is still a form of joy to a feral child that is in a constant state of fight, flight, freeze, fawn, friend. Okay? That is the only joy it knows is, wait, I don't get to react. I don't get to speak my truth. That's joyful for a child that's been in suffering. Or you're going to take sugar away from me? That's my only joy. Okay? You're going to take shopping away from me? You're going to take this away from me? That's my only joy. Complaining is my only joy. And it isn't our job to judge what the feral child believes is joy. But what our job is to recognize that that's not true joy, and that we've got to take the body back because of who and how you're built energetically is a magnet. Okay? You're magnetizing everything that you are. So the first thing I want to do before Andy pops up this visual here is, so it doesn't get you distracted, is I'm going to show you how to put yourself under self hypnosis in 1 minute. That if you do every hour, if you got a handle on your diet and you're starting to get good at the pause, you do not need to do this every hour, but I would highly recommend it 3 times a day. Okay? 3 times a day that you are checking in and being the captain of your own ship. Because what that's going to do is it's going to help the collective by being a glitch. You cannot know what you know and go with the flow and not create karma for the world. You can't. I just want you to breathe this in for a minute. You cannot act like a slave and not create karma anymore. Because you're not a slave, you're a sovereign being. So, if you know this and you're not breathing intentionally and you're not controlling what you're eating and you're not controlling what you're thinking, you are creating a huge amount of karma for yourself because you know better. And once you know better, you are expected to be better. And this is how Source sees you. Source says, they know. They know the law of reflection. They know the law of assumption. They know they're here to conceive their higher self. And they are not, by choice, checking in and glitching out their own system. Because you came into someone else's movie, right, where you were not allowed to have joy. You were not allowed to be the star. You were not allowed to be the main event. You're not allowed to be the main character. And so your job is to figure out, oh no, this is my movie. I'm in someone else's movie, even though it is my movie that I'm in someone else's movie, having my movie of someone else's movie. And the way that I would explain this is, let's say that you're not the popular kid at school, but you go to the school where the popular kid is. You're still having your own movie in their movie. You see that? And that's how this world is you're still having your movie in someone else's movie where you don't get to be the star. You're picked on, you're bullied, whatever your story is. And if you want to be the main character of your story, the only way you can do is stop participating. You cannot participate. And again, if you got, I can't help it, that's where your pause comes in. Okay. So we're going to do a pause where we take one more layer because we've done the breath, right? We've done the willing, we've created the anchors, we've created symbols. So now we're going to manually put the brain into the radio station that we prefer, which is this beautiful bridge between theta and alpha, where I get to choose and I instantly download. So this is where you actually walk into a store in the mall, but you've got a credit card. Okay. If you're just in theta, you could be walking in your favorite store with no money. You need the alpha because that's the download, right? Just being in your imagination all day is like, oh, this is so beautiful. But if you do not activate alpha in there, nothing's downloading, which means you don't bring nothing home. And home is the is here. Okay. All right. So this is all we're going to do is we're going to set an intention. Let us not do anything without intention. So if you are thinking about something heavy, don't take this into your self-hypnosis. Clear it out. Shake it out. Okay? Set an intention that I'm intentionally glitching this movie, right? So I can be the main character of my own. Takes 1 minute. Now, think about your favorite I am affirmation. And when I say favorite, what I mean is the one that actually helps you feel joy when you say it. Not a bullshit one you wish was true, but one you can conceive and feel. All right. My favorite one right now is I am blessed with joyful abundance. I feel that. You might not feel that. So find something, right? And I would always say, like, find three, because there's three aspects of you in there. And I like to do the I like to do, the we, I like to do the you, because it includes all those fragmented parts. It's like, well, I'm not part of the I. I'm part of the we, I'm part of the me, I'm part of the you. So, but again, I just like to cover all my crazy, all the different fragments. You're all invited. Okay. How many ever there are of me, you're all invited to be in this affirmation, because they are still all part of the I. Okay. So think of those three affirmations, maybe those 3 points in your reality, they're not quite in flow. Abundance, health, time, whatever it is, I am joyfully blessed with infinite time to play. Blessing yourself is a master key. So if you can include self blessing into your I am affirmation and declaring through commanding, then it's a one stop shop. Okay. So think of that. Think of the intention for today. Okay. Today I turned 50. So I'm fabulous and 50 apparently. And what I realized is 5 is my life path number. 5 years old is where I lost my joy. And 50 is where I take that back all the way. So this is my year of being, and it's interesting, dyslexic, right? 0, 5 is where I lost it. 5, 0 is where I find it. So complete circuit for me today. So let's go into this self-hypnosis. First and foremost, thank you guys. The self-hypnosis is really about manually overriding your brain with your conscious choice. Choice. Which means you might be angry, but you can choose to do this. You might be triggered, but you can still choose to do this. Okay? Because it is actually a sign of your superpower if you can do this when you are triggered. Because what you're saying is I am not honoring that I don't feel triggered right now, but I'm also honoring that this trigger isn't who I choose to be. I don't choose to be angry anymore all the time. I don't choose to wake up feeling like this. Okay? All right. So first thing we're going to do, obviously, is make the intention to be in our body, bringing the conscious awareness into the body. And if that requires you to put your hand on your heart, hand on your belly, wherever you feel like you check out the most, whether it's heart coherence or prosperity coherence, place your hand there. That will bring your ability to pay attention. This is your inventory. Okay, bringing your energy there. Now we're going to start our deep, deep breath. And we want to bring that breath in through the nose all the way down into the toes if possible. Really deep. We want to oxygenate that body, bring life force prana into the body. That's your prosperity. Bringing it all the way into the body, into the belly, and down. Imagine it getting into the toes. And then letting it go. And as you let it go, I want you to look up so that your eyes become a flicker, like this. Okay? This is how you put your brain into theta alpha. This is self-hypnosis. So while you're breathing, you're going to be looking up. And you can concentrate on looking up and breathing. That's all you have to do. You don't have to go into the affirmation yet. We're going to do this 3 times to create a trinity. And you can keep your eyes flickering the whole time, or you can reset at each breath. It doesn't matter. You are telling your brain, I choose the radio station of a store I can go in and buy something. And I am pouring prosperity into my body, and I am letting go of the excess, which means I am sharing prosperity on my out breath with the collective, with the world, whoever needs it. I'm calling it in and I'm giving it out. I'm calling it in and I'm giving it out. And at that 3 breath point, I want you to notice, not necessarily look, but notice your right hand and see if you can will your right hand to make your fingertips tingle. Can you will your fingertips to tingle? Helps if you kind of hold them up. If your left or your right hand begin to tingle, thank it. Thank you. Now, go to the left hand. Can I make my left fingertips tingle? If so, thank it. Now you can place your hands at wherever needed. One prosperity center, one heart center, both heart centered, both prosperity center, whatever you want. You want to bring your attention to the valve you'd like to open and command with a strong declaration. You are not asking. You are declaring as if it is now your 3 affirmations. Not in the future, now. I'm taking this home now. I'm driving this car outfitter. I'm holding the keys to my new land. I'm doing these things now. And you keep your breath going, just gentle, peaceful. Now I want you to count yourself down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Notice the peace. Notice the even joy of believing in your own affirmation as the truth of your self-concept. Say them again. And I want you to then imagine with each of your affirmations, one thing that you would be doing, saying, feeling, receiving in each one of these affirmations. So if I say, I am blessed with joyful abundance, then I would have an imagination that would go with that as an example. And it can just be a little picture, it can be a reel, it can be something, a word is being spoken to you, it can be a word that you are speaking for each one of your affirmations. Because as you imagine, God is looking, Creator is looking through your eyes to get your order so that you can then manufacture it out of yourself because you are Creator and the creation. Last but not least, in this theta alpha state, we're going to then go into one major challenge that we are very grateful that is happening for us right now, because we know that whatever is happening right now is actually our bridge. And so if we can say, I am so grateful for this challenge, you don't have to say why, but you're acknowledging it, that it is part of your bridge of incidence. And I want you to acknowledge and find gratitude for something that your reticular activator has been showing you that is that which you desire. Doesn't mean it's yours. It means you drove by the land you liked. You saw the car that you wanted, right? Someone just announced on Facebook that they're retiring. I don't care. Your reticular activator is bringing you evidence and proof that it is in your movie. And the only disassociation is that you're not holding it, having it yet, but grateful gratitude for my reticular activator for showing me evidence of what I am. And that's it. 1 minute on the hour or 3 times a day. This is how you glitch. This is how you reorder. This is how you reflect. This is how you command. And if you notice that royal energy doesn't say a lot, but if they walk into the room, everybody shapes up. Everybody knows their title. So when you start taking your breath back, they know that the captain is in the ship. So you have all those minions' attention. When you hold your breath, you have ego's attention. Ego is not stealing your attention when you hold your breath. It's like, what is she doing? Why is she doing this? Well, we got to go along with her because this is her body. So if you're really struggling with your mind, do your breath holds while you're doing your eye rolls. That's like, I'm commanding the ship. I'm putting everybody on timeout for a moment because y'all trying to create mutiny and all kinds of chaos in here. And this is my ship. Remember, you are a vessel that is here to hold light. Another word for vessel is ship. Just feel that for a moment. Everybody get that? Now, make this your own. You don't have to do this the way I just told you to do this. If this inspired some amazing other way, please, please, for the love, do it and share it with us. If you were like, oh, I'm going to do this, or oh, there's another piece of hypnosis that she didn't talk about, please share it. Please. Because the more that you share,
I want
the
to
more
share.
you realize that we're all you. Yes, go ahead, yeah.
Well, a piece that helps me is just imagining that I'm having like a lemon. I start the juice is flowing immediately, so it gets me into alpha even faster.
Yes, you can do that too. Yep, if you want to do that. And if you have a hard time feeling, you can imagine what an orange tastes like. Imagine what a tomato tastes like. That will get your willpower and your imagination in commandment with the feeling state as well. So if you really struggle to feel the wish fulfilled, start with things that you've already experienced. Recall the lemon, recall the orange, recall the tomato, recall spider being on you. You'll be instantly itchy. Okay. And you'll start to see that your body is actually taking the cue from your feelings, not from reality. Okay. Because you're not eating a lemon, but yet your throat is feeling like it is. So that's great. Go ahead, Donna.
Can we talk a little bit about, I'm grateful for the challenge as a bridge of incidents, that I kind of hit a wall when that came up.
Okay. So everything that you're manifesting right now is showing you, let's say it's a negative, it's saying, hi, I am your lower self. Okay. And the reticular activator that's showing you the land is going, hi, I am your higher self. So if you don't actually see where your lost parts are, then how are you going to know what to integrate? So we have to be equally as grateful for the challenge as we are for the reticular activator's proof. And the reason why is because the reason why you do not have what you want right now is because of that lower self. So if you are never triggered or you have no challenge, you would never know what is in the way. The body problem is what's in the way, but it's not the body problem, it's the message. The challenge is the message. It's the message in a bottle from your small self. Okay? And if you are not grateful for finding that as a totally neutral clue, because this is a game of hide and seek, that you're on a treasure hunt. So let's say this. Okay, I'm on a treasure hunt and it says, oh, go find a snake, a venomous snake. You're like, I don't want to do that. But that's actually what you need as the bridge of incidents, because snake bites hurt, but they also make the antibodies. So you actually need the venom if you get bit. So when the affirmation that I have is, what is great about this problem? What is amazing about this challenge? And if I do it in that energy of the inner child, my brain's like, yeah, let's find something good about this. Because we all, not you, we all have a neural pathway that says challenges and problems are bad. This means I'm doing it wrong. And I will tell you, if you follow Neville Goddard's work, the challenges mean you're doing it right. If you study Kabbalah, the challenges means you're doing it right. Because until you start to see your own negative reflection, you are not going to know what's in the way. Because remember, everything is you pushed out. So that challenge is a pain body version of you. The challenge is actually you. Now it's coming back hurting, but it's you. Just like a migraine is you putting too much self-pressure on yourself. It isn't your head that's trying to explode on you. It's you, us, putting too much self-pressure, and then the reflection is the migraine. But if I didn't have a migraine, how would I know I'm putting pressure on myself? Because I don't know what I look like without a mirror, which is exactly why Ya and Andy created this Circle of Grace group. Because it is there to be a safe container for everyone to be able to see their reflection, positive and negative, and use both. Does that make sense, Donna? And I'll tell you, just for the record, that being grateful for the challenge keeps Satan out of the cookie jar. And here's why. Gratitude is thank you. Satan says, I'm only happy when you suffer. But if you're grateful, then you're not suffering. And therefore, you're going to go play with someone else. And I literally am like, what's great about this problem? And Satan's like, this is boring. I'm going somewhere else. Literally. But if I go, oh, this again? Why is this happening to me? Satan's like, yay, I win. And then I lose points. Okay? So if I say, what's great about this problem? Because I know this problem is in the way of my abundance. I know this problem is in the way of my family unity. I know this problem is in the way of my health. Then if I don't see it, like, okay, if we're out to lunch and you have a big booger in your nose, would you want me to tell you? Okay, you might be embarrassed for 30 seconds, but you'd be like, thank God I wasn't walking around with this booger in my nose all day, right? So see the challenge as the booger. That's it. It's do not give it more power. It isn't powerful. It is equal. Because in magnetism, which I'm about to show you in the diagram, you need equal parts of negative and positive to create destiny, density, form. So the negative challenge is so good for us. What we've got to do is pull our ego out of the way of justification of why it's not good. Right? Just like I was saying to the girls earlier, it's like, okay, your tooth is killing you and you know you're going to go to the dentist, you're going to pay a shit ton of money and they're going to yank it out and you're excited about it because you know you're going to get relief. So if you lean into it, yeah, I got to spend this money. Yeah, I got to go get under amnesia. Yeah, I got to go get this tooth pulled out, but I know I'm going to feel amazing after. Look at the challenge as just the awareness of the diagnosis. Because if you don't have a diagnosis, you stay in mystery. Mystery keeps you in the past, keeps you in the loop. You can never create a new identity without knowing where your own fertilizer is. You can't. So for me, I feel like when the triggers come now, I'm more excited than when I get proof of the evidence that I'm on track. Because I haven't had joy my whole life. So I'm returning to joy. And I want to know everything that's in the way of my joy, whether it's me or a reflection of me. Does that answer your question? Does that help you guys too? Okay. All right. So Andy, if you wouldn't mind popping this up. Now, I did this on an airplane, so there might be misspellings, and I don't care because it was this on an airplane, okay? But you'll get the memo, you'll get the picture, and I can recreate it if it's just chaos. But you'll get, I just wanted you to have a visual.
So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna mute myself before I go on there. So if there's any issues, just let me know and I'll come back on.
I think this made fun. Okay, perfect. Let's see if we can make this. Can we make it bigger? Anyway? Yeah. Okay. All right. Now this is going to help you guys all see the meter concept. Yeah, you might not be able to read all of it, but we'll print it out and put it. Now, the concept of today's class is this is the open channel class, right? Is to realize that we've been kind of playing with the 7 hermetic laws all year in Jedi. And you have to understand that if you really want to understand reality, you have to understand a magnet. Okay? Now, let's just kind of like back up for this moment and look at what this like cartoon version of a magnet looks like. Now, none of you guys have magnets on your fridge that look like that. That's more of like the cartoon expression of a magnet. But when you think of a magnet, that's what you think of. Why? The reason why is because it is one holistic piece, but it has 2 sides, doesn't it? And you have a left and a right hand, and it has a left and a right side. And so your I am is actually separated by electromagnetic energy. So on your left side of your own magnet, which is your body and your field, is your identity. That is what stands for the I in I am. identity. On the other side is the am. What is am? It's your actor in motion. So you are one complete circuit of negative, positive energy. What I identify, I act out. What I identify as, I become. What I believe myself to be, I behave as. Now, here's where separation happens, is because the I and the M get separated in someone else's movie. When you are not the leading role, when you are not the main character, your I and your am is going to be separated by someone else's am. Okay? So your I am is different till you become a mother. And as soon as you am with a newborn baby, it changes. I just need you to see that this is where separation happens. And this is why when you start affirming, I am God, all hell breaks loose, because the concept is the separation always happens in the space between what you're really identifying with and what you are doing. So what we want to do is we want to close that separation in looking at the visual concept of this. Now, if we're going to look at like the left side, the identity, this isn't the real you, by the way. This is who you have been taught to identify as. This isn't the real you until you go in and change the I, which is the self-concept. So your original identity is created out of what you are not allowed to say, what you are not allowed to do, what you are not allowed to have, what you are forced to say, what you are forced to do, what you are forced to have. This is how your first 7-year cycle was created and your hard drive was formed, which means that your identity was formed without your consent. Because of the way that the brain is in alpha and theta, the first 7 years, it is just shopping everybody's stuff. Now, there's a part of you, the am, right? I'm just like this, that does not realize what your identity script is. So if you look at the other side, the conscious awareness, now, what is conscious awareness? Who I want to be. Your identity is who I'm programmed to be. Your conscious mind is who I want to be. Two different people. This is why you experience disappointment and why you feel blindsided, because these two are not in coherence. So what your am does is says, well, I'm going to show them. I'm going to go out and get. I'm going to become. I'm going to have. I'm going to learn. I'm going to study. I am going to da 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 da. So you went from complete source to separate from source to trying to get to source, trying to be source, trying to become source. You see how every motivation in your life has been out of alignment. Because if you go back to the original I is I am source. But as soon as you're, don't say that, don't feel that, don't act that way, you are separated from your source. You create an identity that I am separated from my source. So your am, your action in motion goes and says, well, I'm going to go get. So everything you're trying to get right now is a lie. Breathe. Everything you want right now is a lie. Everything you think you don't have right now is a lie. Here's why. Because if you go back and stop being the actor in the movie and you go back into the identity, then you'll realize that you were taught to separate from your own source. You will never get to source in the am. The am is the actor in the movie, which means who has more power on a stage, the actor or the script? Because if the actor starts ad-libbing and changing everything, the whole movie collapses. Some of you are experiencing that in your realities. Your whole movies are collapsing. Now, if you want to do this gently without affecting everyone and getting tomatoes thrown at you on stage because nobody likes where you're going with it, because everybody's used to the old script, is you're not going to make changes in the actor in motion. You're going to go back to the I. You're going to go back to where you are identifying with your story, even though you say you don't want to. You're saying, this isn't my movie. I don't like this. But then you're going, but I can't have this and I can't do that. You're identifying with it. So if you're going to channel the identity, then no matter how much you want to have a different experience, your actor in motion is going to play the same bullshit role, even if you don't want it to, because you haven't glitched out the system. You haven't said, pause, no. And the identity is created in the inner work, not conversations with spouse, not credit checks. It is done in the, do I choose to still believe that I am separate from source and act like this? Because if I act like this, then I'm going to need banks. I'm going to need teachers. I'm going to need counselors. I'm going to need mirrors. Because the only reason I need a mirror is because I don't know. I can't feel the booger. I need a mirror to show it to me. But the more that you practice the feeling state, the more you're going to be like, wake up and be like, I'm out of alignment. You will know. You will not need post manifestational awareness to show you you're out of alignment. You won't need the trigger. But remember, we're working backwards from the wish fulfilled. So you need the triggers to find out where the boogers are until you can feel them in there. Then when you can feel them, you'll just be like, do I have something in my, oh yeah. Nobody needs to tell you because you can feel it because you're in your body. Now, as long as someone told you that you are not source, you are not going to want to be in this body. But if you are source in this body, this is like Iron Man. You got the suit. But if you are told that you are source out of body, then you keep trying to get source to feed the body. So the first disassociation is the identity. Okay, now let's look. As above is below, which means that the identity, the I am, creates your movie. The I creates the players that you play with. It creates the playgrounds you're on, right? And it creates the playmates and all the props. Your identity does. Not your behavior, your identity. This is why you need to trigger, Donna, because you can't see the trigger if you don't know where the I is operating. Because we think that the I is operating in the am, which is our chosen forced behavior, is our strict diet. Not at all. It's actually happening in the subconscious, which is 95% of the iceberg. All right? So 95% of you is generated a vibration frequency from the identity, not your amness. You're just like, well, I guess I have to be a serial killer on this movie. Okay, I'm going to go act out the part. Right? And you're either believable or you're not. But that's not where your power is. It's like, I don't want to be a serial killer. I don't want to be this detective anymore. Psh, give me a different script. Give me a different genre. Now, what happens is the other day I was getting a pedicure. It was interesting because they were doing something on like the bottom of my foot and I felt this weird pain on the other side of my body in my neck. Like immediately it was like, and it was opposite side all the way at the top. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I just got this visualization of this infinity symbol that is in this figure 8. Now, let's put these two magnets together. What does that look like? Infinity loop. So your reality is playing out like an infinity loop through your I am. Your I am creates you are. My I am creates we have. My I am creates I do. And you do to me. Because you're the mirror, right? So this is why it's shaped like a U. U for unity. It's all you. It's all you. You know me in letters. I geek out. I love it when everything aligns. This is the U inverse. This is the unity. And so every part of you is unity. It's everyone pushed out. Now, when people get very rigid and they do not want to accept that their identity is creating this havoc, they fixate on the am. Well, I'm just like this, and this is how I am, right? They do not want to go change the identity. Well, then what happens is that those two magnets get so tight together that it creates a cage. So if I put these magnets together and you're stuck in the middle in the space, that's Satan's world. Okay? So if I am so rigid and I am so locked into my identity that I don't know I am, and I am acting out behavior that I think is changing my reality, but I'm not getting anywhere, or I'm getting very little, it is because these two magnets locked together, and now my identity is generating the same movie over and over again, and I'm stuck in the middle in Satan's world. So when we pause, pick our breath, right? Take our brain waves, we open up the magnet. We create now this space for source to return between the identity, the actor playing the movie out, and the co-stars, the props, the stories, the scenarios, the backstory, the future story. We create the space intentionally. But when you are locked in to this magnetic pull, it don't matter how much you try, you're recycling experiences. And this is why, if you look at how energy travels, it travels like a figure eight. And that's why my right neck got freaked out when my left foot was touched. So if you look at the magnet, and I didn't have time to create the full arrow, is your behavior, you think, is actually playing out your movie, but it's going over and creating the players, the playmates, and the playground. And the identity is creating the movie. So it's like this. Okay? Does that make sense? And again, you can sit with this after and look. But see, when I have an identity of I'm not allowed, I can't have, I can't do, I can't say, I can't feel, how do I know what my real talents are? How do I really know if I have genius hiding somewhere? I don't. Because then what that's going to do is produce my behavior. And so my behavior is I don't have, I must get. Or I can't do, I must find someone who can. So you see that even if you think your behavior is in alignment, if you haven't changed your identity, your whole movie's out of alignment because you will still be operating off of the script of I don't. So what I want you to accept right now with full transparency of source as the channel is that there is nothing that you don't know how to do. There's no language that you don't know how to speak. There's no instrument that you don't know how to play. There is no Akashic information that you don't have access to. There is no psychic ability that you do not have. There is no economic structure that isn't all yours. There is no planet that does not belong to you. It's all yours. So every thought you think of, well, I don't know how to do that, that's a lie. Well, I can't speak that language. Lie. So what is a lie? It's the end of the word be. Be is the state. So when you become the lie, you become the belief. Belief is what formulates and glues identity to the movie. So what I want us to do is channel for a moment and reflect on, I really can speak every language. Take a breath. Everything really is mine. I know how to play every instrument. I know everything about everything somewhere. But see, here's the thing. When you are in survival, do you care to play a guitar? Unless that's part of your survival. So when you are in identity of Satan's movie, so remember, you're the new kid at school, you're a geek, you're a misfit, right? You're an outlaw, you're a rebel, and you walk into the school and there's a popular kid who looks the part, who has the money, has all the right words, has the right family, and you walk into this movie, this does not feel like your movie. It feels like their movie. And now you got to figure out how to be in their movie. Take a breath. This is your childhood. You came with a whole movie inside of you. You came with a whole story inside of you. But you're the new kid on the block. You don't know how to talk yet. You don't know how to feed yourself. You don't know where anything is. You don't know how anything works. You got to find someone, something to learn or download from until you remember. Okay. And so again, and I've been in this situation because we moved every 6 months. I was always the poor kid starting in some rich community. Okay. Not that we were rich, but my mom was the help. So we always had to find these richer communities so she could clean someone's house or whatever she did. So I would always be starting off with my thrift store and clothes and my non-label stuff and, not cute, slightly overweight, nothing to offer anyone except really good communication skills. And I was kind of funny. That was it. That's all I could bring to the table, or at least what I believed about myself, my identity. And then I had to start a new school where either I'm going to friend the enemy or I'm going to get picked on. Because when someone has anger inside of them, they want to punish you so they get to express their anger. Because their actor is, I am angry. I need to find someone to express this through. Oh, the new kid who has the wrong shoes. That's you. Now, what did I do? I built an identity out of that. Okay, I got to start a new school. So I'm going to get bullied the first week. Then I'm going to best friend the biggest bully. I'm going to become her life coach. I'm going to become her right hand until I have to leave this school and start again. That was my story. And I would, every time, give me 3 months, I was best friends with the biggest bully there was. I'm giving them life advice, right? I'm giving them intuitive guidance. I become their right hand because that's how I stayed safe. Either that or I'm the picked on loser, and I could not accept that. So what part did you play? It's probably the part you're still playing somewhere on some level, even if it's just with your own ego at this point. So what I'm trying to say is that what stops us, spiritual travelers who have been on this trek for a minute, how we do not know this yet is because you are unaware that your I and your M were separated. They don't talk about this in the Bible. Yeah, whatever you put I am with, yes. But do you know what your I is identifying as? Look at all this trigger. I identify as he, she, they. Okay, that's separation. I'm identifying as separation. Okay? Now, one of the things I channeled yesterday for Marissa that was so awesome was her guides came in and gave her a very quick demonstration of this to show her a couple things that was going on with her reality because she's helping me with the planner, so she's an essential worker right now. Okay? Is that joy is the name of every inner child. Your inner child's name is Joy. That is the only name of the inner child is Joy. So if you take your first name and look it up, it has a meaning, and you're going to say this affirmation or this, I am the joy of, and then what your name means, or your name and joy of. So that is actually your inner child's name. Okay. And your name, whatever it means, the first name, not the last, that's your slave name. The first name is your expression. Okay. So your name means something royal. You're the joyful expression of it. You're here to be the joy of, the joy as. So if we were going to go, well, what is my true identity? It's joy. Because the second source is removed, that's where you lost your joy. If you guys worked on your joy lists in Jedi, what steals your joy, what tanks your joy, where you have no joy, that is where your identity actually is, which is why, Donna, we need the triggers. Because the triggers show us where the identity still is. because the I is what we see. Identify. And someone's attacking me. My am is like, I didn't create this. I'm just an actor in a movie. I just showed up and I got attacked. What happened? The I was like, oh, I set that up. Because that's what we do. We get attacked when we're being vulnerable. We get attacked when we're being generous. We get ignored when we've got something to say. That's what we do. So again, why we want to have gratitude for the trigger is because it shows us where the I is. Because remember, that's 95% of your frequency and vibration is in the I. 5% is how you think you are. Well, no, I'm doing everything right. I'm eating perfectly. I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. It don't matter. Because if you identify as someone unhealthy and yet you're acting as a perfect eater, you're still going to be unhealthy. Because 95% of you trumps 5%. Now, this is going to create an inner war. We think it's an outside war. We think we're fighting with our families. We think we're fighting with money. We think we're fighting. We're not. We're fighting against the am and the I. And here's the thing. You want to know what your I is vibrating? Look at your physical reality. Your identity creates your personal reality. Your personal reality is where your actor acts. So this is why you cannot change your movie with your actor. You have to go back into the script. And the reason why I wanted this to be open channel class today is because if you look at this magnet, right? Now let's go to Kabbalah and let's look at what the vessel looks like. Okay? It looks like the upside down U. So Source is trying to dump light inside of this U so that you may have electricity and energy to act out your true identity. But if you are locked in, if these two magnets are connected, as above is below, you're stuck in the middle, Source can't get in there. Now, did you identify with not having something as a child? Did you identify with not being able to do something as a child? Not be able to be something as a child? You were told, like, this is what I was told. I mean, you're irresponsible, which was true. But I took that as such a big part of my identity that then I had to work so much harder to be responsible. If I would have just been like, well, why don't I just decide to play a role that is responsible, and then my higher self can give me those coordinates. Just like if you were like, I'm going to identify with someone who can play the drums, and I'm going to affirm this every day, and eventually my higher self will give me the coordinates, which is where the information in the field that already exists of the version of myself already is. Like, we are in the golden age. It's time to quantum leap all this bullshit. But you cannot be locked into your game. You cannot be mad at anyone and change this. Because like this is what happens if you're mad at someone. You're just mad that someone told you you had a booger in your nose. That's the only reason you're mad, is someone called you out. You're like, why'd you tell me that? Okay, you want to walk around all day with that booger? Great. That's affecting your money line. That's affecting your health line. And yeah, it's a simple joke, but that's as serious as it is when you look at it through the eyes of Source. It's like, it's just a booger. Don't you want someone to tell you? Oh, and now you're upset that someone you love told you? Wouldn't you rather hear that you have a booger on your nose from someone you love? This is why Jesus in Nazareth. It's going to be the people that love us the most that tell us that we have a booger, and it's going to hurt the most. But it's because they love you the most. Right? Okay, because if a stranger was just walking by and was like, hey, you got a little something, and you're like, what is that guy doing? Right? Or have you ever been driving and someone comes up next to you and they're like pointing at your car and you're like, what the hell? Okay, same thing. But see, we like those mirrors because we are saving ourselves from mass embarrassment, which is why I just want to acknowledge Andy and Ya right now. Everyone just like, because what they're doing is they're creating a group, a container, for us to go in and bring these mirrors and be like, help me see myself in a safe container. Okay, now, what are your options if you don't? Well, the world is going to show you where the booger is, and it's going to feel different. And you're going to defend, I don't have a booger, what? Or, you know what, I can't see something. I know, I'm going to go into the circle of grace where the healthy, safe mirrors are, where I am going to be safely contained with other loving people that are going through or have just gone through what I'm going through. And they're going to help me lovingly see where I am in my own way with a broken, outdated identity that I was given. Because it wouldn't have mattered what an amazing person I was. If I show up on the first day of school and I don't look how everyone looks and I don't have what everyone else has, I'm going to form a judgment about myself no matter who I am. If I go to a brand new school and I'm the only kid that's mom's driving a hoopty with curlers in her hair while everybody else is getting chauffeured, I'm going to make some opinions about myself, which I did. Because I had to survive the school. Now, if I grow up and I forget that I created my identity out of that child, I create a whole movie that feels like that first day of school every time I start something new. So you have to get very honest with the part of you that you have been spending all this time getting super conscious. That super conscious part of you now needs to go in and look at your identities. Okay, and one of the ways that you can do this, the subconscious mind, which is where all this shit is stored. Okay, let's say subconscious mind is the etherical identity of divine feminine, and how it manifests is the physical body, which is the unconscious mind. Your body is the unconscious mind until you make it conscious. This is why all the information is stored in the body. How to play the guitar is in the body. Okay, how to cure cancer in the body. The medicine that you need in the brain, in the body, right? It's all in the pharmacy. It's there. You're a self-contained manifestational magnet. All right, but you've got to open that magnet up, because you keep attracting the same shit, attracting the same, and then you're caught in the middle. Like, where's Source? Source is like, I can't get in there. That's Satan's classroom. I cannot get this to you until you open up. So every time, imagine these two magnets come together. Identity and I am create the players, playmates, playground. When you take a deep breath intentionally, you open these magnets. Now you can be like, hold on, I'm changing my identity. I no longer want to identify as someone who doesn't know how to do anything. I don't want to identify with someone who doesn't have money or time or health. Now, that's going to take some inner work. Fine. When you prefer to do the inner work, then to keep manifesting the new first day of school every time you do something new, or the shock collar around your neck that we gave in the last analogy, because you will. You will never be able to do anything that is not written in your identity, ever. So if I'm playing the irresponsible loser, but I have the gift of gab and communication, that's going to be the only thing I think I'm good at in my whole life. What do you think kind of business I'm going to get in? Hello? This is all I know how to do until I change my identity. I know how to help people. I know how to friend the enemy. I know how to collect data. I know how to read a room. I know how to read body language. Do you think any of this was from pleasure? No, it was from survival. Do you think any of my intuition came from like, I'm going to download a spiritual gift? No, I needed to know what people were thinking. So we're just identities here. And this is why the self-concept work is so, it's so important, especially the way that Neville unpacks the scripture, because it goes in perfect alignment with the I am. And whatever you put I am with, you are creating and generating. But if it doesn't match what your identity, what's underneath the iceberg, right? The true iceberg, then all you're doing is you're creating a movie where everybody's pissed off that you're trying to change your identity without changing the script. That's why when you start affirming, I am this, I am wealthy, it's like your movie is like, no, you're not. Because you didn't change the I first. The am is the action part of the I. It's the manifestation of the I. And even as spiritual people, we keep trying to change it in the am. Let me get one more modality. Let me get the certification. Okay, how about become certified first before we get the certification for someone else? You get a download before you share it with anyone else. Does my I need this? Do I need to identify differently? Okay, because you got to see what origin character you played and how source was stripped from you to know how to get it back. And how you get it back is go, do I want to be someone who has a backstory of no money, or do I want to be a god with amnesia who came to the wrong school but then remembered who they were, right? Like, you got to change that story, and then you've got to teach the body. You got to change your identity, and then you've got to reteach the body who the new character is. And what this looks like is, let's say, I'm playing a football game and I'm only used to being the quarterback, and all of a sudden they take that away from me and they make me be, I don't know, whatever other thing, whatever. They make me be a kicker, okay? My body is not going to know how to do that. I know how to be this, but I'm assigned over here. So when you reassign yourself, your body is not going to know how to do it. And that does not mean that it's wrong. It just means now you got to learn. And how you got to remember, how you got to remind. So now your entire spiritual work is to teach the body who the new identity is. Not teach everybody else who you are. Because imagine every single person in your movie is just one of your cells. So if you don't teach your cells, ain't nobody out there going to know who you are. Cell service or cell mate. If you do not change your identity from childhood, everyone out there will be a cellmate. You change your signal back to source, now you got a cell signal. Now you got wireless. Now you're online. Now you're abundant, you're prosperity, you're noble, you're queen, you're king. Now you're not the loser with the booger in your nose at the first day of school. Every time you start something. Okay? So I want you to see the diagram only because, remember, your subconscious mind loves it when you ask her questions. Okay? So how about this? I really can play any instrument. I wonder what I would play. She will talk to you. Is there really nothing I don't know? Ask her questions. And if you say, well, who am I really? Well, like I said, imagine what role you're playing right now. Some of us are still playing peasants. Our am doesn't think we're a peasant. See, your am thinks you're better than people, but your I feels like a peasant. If you don't have freedom, if you don't have money coming out of the wazoo, you're a peasant. Your I is. Your am is like, no, I'm not. I'm not hurting like them. I'm not hurting like them. Okay, well, you live next to the fruit tree, but that's the only difference. You're still a peasant. All right. So now imagine that you are royal, noble. You already live in the palace. You already have the castle. You already have the money. Look at your same problem. It wouldn't even be anything. You'd be like, don't we have someone to take care of this? But see, if you haven't created that, then you have to take care of it, which is a peasant. If you still don't have boundaries, you're a peasant. Because peasants are just walking around unsheltered. It takes 4 or 5 people to get to the royal. So you can figure out right now how people treat you, what you have, what you don't have, where you live, where you are, to tell you exactly where your identity is. With no judgment, be like, yeah, we're changing that. Because it don't matter what action you take, what happens is you're in a box. And the box is shaped like 2 U's stuck together. And it's called a jail cell. Because You got so addicted to your movie. You got so addicted to the cast and characters in your movie. You got so addicted to your playground. You got so attached to the story that now you're like, I want a different movie. But you are so obsessed that your magnets are stuck together and you're trapped in the middle. And guess what? Creator's like, I can't get in there. That's not my dominion. I need you to create the space. And Satan's like, no, they're in my space. The space between the I and the M is my space. So have you noticed that every conflict in a relationship is caught between what you meant and what happened, what you felt and what is? All conflicts are found in the separation of the I and the M, who I want to be versus who I am. You attracted your soulmate or your partner based on your identity. So every problem you have with them is based on your identity. Don't matter what you do different. Till you change the I, their I can't change. So when you see them acting a certain way through assumption, you're looking through the eye of your own identity. Let's take questions.
I wanted to make a comment, and I'm going to have to run at some point. But when you described the subconscious as the etherical, and then the manifestation, the physical, and the way you put it just like brought me into a nice visual of like Mother Earth, right? And then because that's us, right?
Yes.
And then also in the looking at us as the keys to open up her and read her book, as long as she invited us here to do that, and then we have the choice to do that. So
Right. She's the container.
as the living library. So I just
Right.
I wanted to
And
share that the visual just popped.
everything. Earth is a living library, and we were made in God's image, but we were made to be the yin and the yang, or the micro of the macro. So our body is literally a representation of Mother Earth, which means in our cellular memory, yeah, we identify with being a loser, but we also have cellular memory of being the entire universe.
So we're the living library too. So it's pretty awesome. I just saw the
The
visual and I wanted
Akash is in the body.
so cool.
The gold is in the body. The prosperity is in the body. This is why this is the kingdom of heaven. First seek the kingdom of heaven and then be still, which means pause the movie. Okay? Now, sometimes this is why all suffering comes from attachment. So let's say this. You're a peasant. You don't want to be a peasant. You never felt like a peasant. You don't dress like a peasant. You don't act like a peasant, but you're a peasant. Okay? And you live in a peasant world, and all your friends and family are peasants. And someone comes up to you one day and says, hey, you know you're supposed to be in the castle? Do you know who you are? Do you know who your true birthright is? And you were like, awesome. Can I take all my friends and family? No. Not until you remember who you are. This is why people don't go. Because immediately you're going to see what you're attached to. And whatever you're attached to cannot change until you only become attached to the new I. Because you're going to be like, well, so-and-so, I can't go to the castle. They wouldn't fit over there. Ooh, I can't take so-and-so. But see, what you remember is everyone in your movie is a fragment of your own consciousness. And so if you change the I at the hard drive level, everyone else will be ready to go to the castle. So you also have to look at your limiting beliefs about, if I was presented with this keys today to everything I've ever wanted, who would actually be ready in my movie to go with me? That will show you right there where you need to change an identity. That will show you right there what you're attached to and what you have too much assumption at. This is why I said, go see all these people that you love in their new role, because that's the imagination. That is you imagining your nation. It's not just you, it's unity. We all go or no one goes. This keeps ego out of it. This keeps you out of separation. This helps you mold everyone. Okay? So anybody else has any questions or comments or, adds? Everybody get this? Okay, now how do you change your identity? First, what you want to say is, I really do lack nothing. Do I want to keep believing that I lack, not that I'm lacking anything? Or do I just want to reset, go back to factory settings? Because if you actually just went back to factory settings, which was what happens if you go through quantum fitness or if you have a near-death experience, you go back to factory settings and all of a sudden you're like, you can create whatever identity you want. But you go do a whole bunch of plant medicine and you do not create a new identity, the old one will come back because it will download from the cloud. So if you're going to take yourself back to factory settings with breath, with self-hypnosis, with affirmation, with changing of scripts, all this stuff, you've got to set a new identity. So what you have to do is you have to imagine that the new identity is in your old situations. That's one of the ways that you can do this, is time travel it. It's like, okay, so the new identity is Royal this. Let me take her back to that first day of school. How would have that been different? You know, got horses pulling up at 7th grade. Dun, 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 right? Jess is here. I got my own song. My 7th grade year would have been different. Can you imagine that for yourself? Because so many of us are so locked in this identity that we keep trying to change the spirituality, and it's not a spiritual thing, it's a choice. All spirit is the fuel to provide the identity motion. That's it. You don't have to go on a spiritual journey. You have to just be like, oh, do I want to keep believing that I can't sing or dance or do something? Or what would that be like if I could? Subconscious mind loves questions. That is basically Neville's revision technique. Absolutely. You guys, I'm not getting no new information. Nothing I'm going to ever share with you is original. Because pulling from the cloud, okay? And Neville is such a great mentor for us. And the only thing that I feel that has lacked for me is I like visuals. I like seeing how things work. I like putting the pieces, because again, it's just like, how? If you look at the separation that happens between the I and the M, if one side of the magnet looked at the other side, they would actually think that there was a valley between them, right? If the I was looking at the M from the top, they would feel a valley. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Okay, there's no valley. Now, if the I drops down, goes underneath into the void, back up, oh, hey, there you are. You were never separate from me. So this is why you can't get from here to here. You can't jump over the valley. You gotta go down into it and be like, oh, there you are. You were the loser that started 1st grade with, holes in her shoes. Okay, that ain't us anymore. Let me show you who you really are through imagination, breath, and radical override of my own brainwaves. Slowly but surely, day by day, because the how is in your daily routine. This isn't something you do once, because you didn't get in this mess from one time. You got in this mess, we got in this mess from practicing, preparing, playing, witnessing, right? Resisting, persisting. We did all of it. We built it layer after layer of, I don't like this, is, oh, here's some more of this. Because there is no in the universe. I don't like means more. I don't want means here. I'm going to run away from you means I'm going to chase you. That's it. Because the universe is a magnet. Like attracts like. So anybody gets triggered with you outside, it's a part of you. Right? You get triggered with someone else, you're loaded. Full radical responsibility, the ability to respond. Let's go talk to the I. Do we really believe that we weren't born rich? Even though I've read 100 books that say it's my birthright, do we really want to keep believing that? Because we may not have proof of that, but we have a choice. And we can override the program by going back to factory settings and then installing a new I through the conception of ourself, which is the womb, which is the I, and then becoming the am. Isn't it interesting? Apple of my eye, apple a day, all these English bullshit sentences all bring you back to scripture. This is why the English language is absolute trash. But if we use numerology and if we identify certain patterns, this is where autism comes in, then we can figure it all out. And I'll tell you, it's baseline simple for a 5-year-old child. Because at 5 years old is when Saturn comes online in your universe and starts to steal your time, starts to steal your space, and starts to separate you manually from source. So by the time you are 7, you have a complete hard drive, not who you want to be, but who you are. This is why you do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are, but you aren't even that. It's just who you identified with and forgot you identified with it. And here's how you know if you identified with it is you're trying to be something. You're trying to do something. That means you're actually identifying as someone who doesn't have. There's your problem. Trying to get something, you're identifying with someone who doesn't have it. Trying to get somewhere, you're identifying with someone who just got to go. The issue is in the eye. Okay? Everybody got this? Please, for the love of all of that you are, because you're all me pushed out, I'm asking all my parts, do this glitch work. Because what this will do, maybe not in the first few days, it's going to bring you to an awareness where this is easier. The more space that you create between you and Satan's world, the more space you have to change the movie, which happens from the stillness. Satan wants you operating as an actor full-time, reactive, making you believe that all of your changes happen outside of you. And as long as you believe that, you will be a slave. You may even have more money, but you will lose something that you value more than money if you play that way. But if you go, I'm pulling this magnet apart, I'm reclaiming the I, and then I'm going to teach the am, the actor in motion, who the new I is through my daily practice, consistency, breath, override, glitch, stillness, response versus reaction, loving the gratitude of the triggers. So I'm going to give you one last formula, and then we're going to wrap today. So your entire healing process of your identity is going to happen in a trinity, always. It's 3 parts. It's very, very, very childlike. And if you stay in these 3 frequencies for the rest of your life, you will be in your castle by the end of the year. Guaranteed. 3 frequencies. Number 1, when the identity starts to show you who it is, there is only one action, emotion, feeling, frequency you need: self-forgiveness. 100%. Someone's attacking you, I forgive myself for creating you in my movie. Someone's yelling at you, I forgive myself for putting myself in this situation over and over again. Someone's taking from you, I forgive myself for pretending that I'm a peasant. Self-forgiveness, 100% self-forgiveness. That is how you deal with all guilt and all identity issues. Self-forgiveness. Do it in the mirror, write it up, it'll happen faster. Self-forgiveness. Secondary. Your I am acting a fool. Okay? Your I am actions, they're ridiculous. You don't need to forgive the actor. You don't have to forgive your actions because you forgave the script. The actor is only playing the script. You do not need to forgive your actions. You need to forgive the script that created the action. So, what do you do with the am? Gratitude. Gosh, I'm so grateful I did that so I could see where I am vibrating. I'm so grateful that you did that so I could see my identity. I am so grateful for this problem because I can see where I've been vibrating. I am so grateful that all this crappy, and look at me, I'm still awesome. Gratitude, 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 gratitude for everything that everyone's done wrong, everything you've done wrong, because it's brought you to the awareness to see the I. Whether it's been the worst behavior or the best, gratitude, 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 gratitude. So self-forgiveness and gratitude are how you bring the I and the M together. That's it. That's the whole mission. Okay. Now, what is the third frequency? Oh my gosh, it's went way back here. Okay. So we got celebrate, gratitude, self-forgiveness, self-concept. It's going to come back. It really is. Okay. So we got this, that. Now, the third frequency is going to be play, joy. All right. So if you do not need to forgive yourself for anything, and you don't need to be grateful for anything, then you should be living 24/7 in joy. How does this work? Now, I'm telling you, if you stay in this triangle, you'll be in your castle by the end of the year. But you got to follow only these three. These are the only three frequencies you're allowed to have for the rest of the year. This is it. Nothing else. Can't experience anything else. So anger's got to fit into one of these. Guilt's got to fit into one of these. Resentment's got to fit into one of these. So joy would be, okay, the mundane peasant life. Well, I'm grateful that I realize that I'm actually a peasant. And I'm super grateful that I can change the I. I forgive the I for buying into believing and acting like a peasant my whole life. I forgive myself. I forgive myself for wasting time with that loser over there. I forgive myself for creating this in my movie. I forgive myself for creating you in my movie. I forgive myself for believing I was poor. So gratitude is the thank you for showing me the booger. That's the gratitude. Thank you for showing me the proof that it's working, and thank you for showing me the booger. That's it. That will take you to the I. The I is I forgive myself for playing this stupid character for so long. Okay, now return to joy. Okay, I'm still living in a peasant movie. Got it. It's because conception, there's a gestation period. So now, in between who I am, where I am and who I am, there might be a little time buffer that needs to work out because I got a 75 trillion billion cells to recode. And by the time I'm recoding those cells, that will repopulate a new movie. Working through my assumptions of my cast and characters, that's going to take a little bit of time. Action as my new method acting, my new character, that's going to take a little bit of time and space. So in between me moving into the castle and still living as a peasant, I must be the character in joy. Now, how could I be in joy? Because I know I'm going to the castle. It's mine. So don't you think that if your entire job as a peasant was shoveling horse shit every day? Okay, that's your job. And you hated it. And, you got to see over there someone who looked prettier than you picking cherries and be like, oh man, she's got a better job over there than I do, but I'm shoveling shit. But all of a sudden you get a memo. Hey, did you know that you are a child of God and you inherit the earth? Shoveling that shit today would be way better, wouldn't it? You're going to still shovel the shit today, bottom line. But you're going to do it as a queen. Okay? You're going to be like, let's do this because I'm about to get the pedicure next week. Now, if you do everything as if, then that's where joy is, because the child is going to go to the doctor's office and twirl because that's joyful. So your job is to bring joy into the peasant life, and this helps break up the animation, because I wouldn't normally be joyful shoveling shit, but I know this is temporary. That is one of your powerful affirmations. This reality is temporary because I have changed my identity. I have chosen to reset back to factory settings of my birthright, which is I am here to inherit the earth. I am a child of God. The kingdom is my home. There's no debt in the kingdom. There's no remorse in the kingdom. There's no guilt in the kingdom. And matter of fact, I'm super grateful for all the guilt and shame because it woke me up to see where I was identifying with. I was taught to feel guilty. I was taught to feel shameful. And then I acted appropriately because I'm a great actor. Here's your Academy Award. Now, who do you prefer to be? If you say, I am the joy of, and my name, you're going to in the planner, you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to be the joy of you. And now you act appropriately. You stay in gratitude. You stay in these frequencies. And these are the only frequencies you're allowed. Your life is going to radically change. Spiritual journey over. Back to child. From feral to royal. Okay? But when you're triggered, how can I be grateful right now? You guys realize this is our first 3 pages to the crater in the morning. It's a 3-point integration. I'm taking full gratitude means I'm taking responsibility for my mirror. That's what grateful is giving. Okay? So if I'm in self-forgiveness, guess what? I'm giving. What does Kabbalah say? You must be like the creator. You must be a giver. Okay. So if I'm forgiving, I'm giving forgiveness to myself. That's giving. Gratitude. I am grateful. I am giving thanks. I'm a double giver. Guess what? I'm the frequency of creator now, which means I can be joy. You want double-fisted giver, okay? That is the I and the am. I am, that I am, that I am, that I am. Because when your mirror begins to reflect the new I am, this is what Christ said at the burning bush. I am, that I am, that I am. It's I am. But you have to stop being so married to who you are. Do you want to be the character that's looking for gold or has gold? Okay, yeah, you might be shoveling shit today, but guess what? Do it as a queen. That's going to change your movie radically faster because you're not getting out of what you've created. You have to recreate it. And if you do it with animosity and, I got to change the identity, well, you're just going to create a new identity out of that energy. Okay, this is where your joy list comes in. Okay, I've got to do this, 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 and this. This is what a peasant does. Okay, let me do it as a queen. Let me do it as an inner child that's playing, that knows this is temporary, that knows that there is a gestational part, that knows that I've been acting this out for 50 years, so it may take a few weeks, it may take a few weeks. But if I stay loyal and royal, okay, then if I stay loyal and royal to this 3-point trinity, it's game over. That means everyone in my reality, guess what? If I stick with these 3 frequencies, okay, which is self-forgiveness, gratitude, and joy, that means that every single person in my movie has to be those 3 frequencies because everyone is me pushed out. Wouldn't that be amazing? If everyone in your reality was grateful? Wouldn't that be amazing if everyone around you was forgiving? Wouldn't it be amazing if everyone around you was joyful? Talk about a better world. Well, everyone's you pushed out. So if you only give yourself 3 choices and you realize something about inner child, okay, studying all this inner child work that I did and took traditional classes on it, it's like children with too many choices freeze. If you give child too many choices, they become overwhelmed. So now look at all your spiritual tools. What do I do? Right? Stick with these 3 basics. You're only 5 years old in there. Okay, remember, you got lost at 5 and solidified that loss at 7. This is why 5 is the number of change. This is why 5 is the representation of chaos. It's the number of rebirth. This is why you got 5 fingers, 5 toes, 2 hands, 2 sides, because the magnet is based in duality until you close the gap. And there is no valley except where you get lost. Okay? Everybody feel good? Feel strong? Let's practice these free vibrations. And if you have kids, play this game with them. Okay? Right now I'm teaching Luke how to be grateful for every problem. Do you realize if he grew up with that, how much different his reality would be? If I show him how to change his identity, okay? Game over, because they don't have 50 years of iceberg stories. All right? Okay, guys, let's make it a game for the next 2 weeks until class. that we hold ourselves accountable through loyal royal presence to stick with these 3 frequencies no matter what is happening. That means you're going to have to find joy in shoveling shit. It's going to be the best gift you ever give yourself. Okay?